had problem with connection. I tried on my phone, and then it was a bit difficult, but I found a way.
We're all finding problems with the internet now, huh?
Yeah, it's crazy. Huh? I try to split with my 4G, and then this I try on the home. Disaster.
Well, Sebas, thank you for being here with us, and I appreciate it a lot. You and I met probably through my brother Danny. You worked with him for quite a while, and you guys were very successful. So I want to know your ideas about fitness. We're gonna get a little bit into how you see it, parenting, how your career. We'll go in a little bit of a sequence, but so the beginning of it all, I send you the question. So how did your connection start with tennis? We can start right there.
The connection start like something, like if it was something obvious. I started to play tennis when I was 3 years old, and my parents played tennis on the court, and I was a kid, like most of the kids, moving all around all the time, and they wanted me to just get occupied while they were playing tennis. So they say, oh, take the racket and just take this tennis ball and go play. So I had the ball, I had the racket, big size, too heavy for me. And I had the tennis ball and I hit against the wall. And it started at 3-4 years old. And then after the coach said, oh, this kid is moving well, he's hitting the ball. Does he want to try? And then I start playing tennis like this. And it was the beginning of the long story. So that's why for me, tennis, there was not a clear moment. I mean, tennis is part of my life. I start playing tennis, and after I play more and more and more, went to tournament, went to international tournament, and then after I was coach, and then I continue, and it's still today. It's nonstop.
How far did you get with tennis? Or when did you stop? When did you change?
It really switched when I was 12, 13 years old. When I was a kid, I was in good French level, let's say, top 20, top 30 kids, 8 years old, 9 years old, 10, 11 years old, 12 years old. But progressively, I didn't have the top result. I went on some international tournament, but then I got kicked out. After the first or second round, I was out. So I decided to say, my dream is to be in professional tennis. I wanted, like all the kids, many of the kids, I wanted to be a tennis player, pro tennis player. And then I said, I realized pretty quickly that I was not made for that, or it was too late for me. So I started to think, okay, I still want to be part of this life, but I want to be as a coach. And then I continued to play because I spoke to my parents and everything, and I study and I read few things how to do it. I tried to contact some coach. And I say, okay, I have to be on the study part, and I have in the same times to be on the tennis. So to be at the best level of tennis I can have. So I kept doing both, studying, going to school, starting coaching the kids, and in the same times play for me. It was good first a bit for the money. Sometimes when you win a tournament, it's always this in the pocket when you're a student. And then my best ranking, I never been on the tour or everything, but I would say I had the French ranking who was around top 500 French.
Okay. And
clay court player, 5 meters behind the line.
A
bit South America, Maybe we'll talk later about that, but it's interesting to see the capacity of kids to manage through the time, because it's a long process. It's not like being at top at 10 years old or 12 years old. Okay, great.
It means nothing.
Doesn't mean anything. You have, for example, when you see Les Petits As or a tournament like this under 14, you have some who win the tournament and who are top 10 after, like Gasquet or guys like this, we know Nadal or guys like this. But at the opposite, I coach some player who did semi-final or final and who never turned pro in their life, never. So that's why it's good to be good, but it doesn't mean anything. Really important thing is, for example, for 10 years old, it's important to look at the growth, because you can have a kid of 12 years old who is pretty small, who didn't really start his growth. So for sure, he cannot serve big. He cannot really move fast. because it's still in a kid body. And at the opposite, I remember having coached Jocelyn Wana, French guy who was, I think, at his best 150. He was 13 years old. He was already 1.85 m. He was big, serving first serve 200. So, I mean, at 13 years old, for sure, he was in advance. So this is one really important part, is really to check where is the kids, but not what there is on his ID, but what there is on the growth and his biological capacity. That's the first thing. It's important. Then I would say the second thing is really you see the kids mentally, the mental skill. You see the kids who really who wants to do more, who likes the sense of the competition, who try all the time to give his best, who is focused on what he wants to do. Because all the kids, they all want. Who doesn't want to be number one in the world, go win tournaments? All want. But which kid are already this capacity to focus and to go through? And the last thing I would say, it's more like a bit the genetics of it. Like you have some kids who see faster, who naturally moves better. And it doesn't mean that for sure the one who doesn't move well, they can stop tennis. But you can see already that they have a bit of agility to do it, and for sure it's kind of bonus when you have good quality of the feet, you move well, you have good muscle tonicity, then for sure after it's easier to improve.
Yeah, and there's so many times that families and players get discouraged because, let's say, like you're saying, number one, I mean, my genetics, or that was number 3, but just somebody that doesn't look the part, and they start comparing themselves. What would you say to that? Because just like you said, at number 2, you have to have the want to get better. So if you do have that, you can give them your expertise and explain how we can help your process. But
and I have the feedback now because I'm getting older. So now I have the feedback of how was the kid when they were 10, 11, 12, 13 years old. And now that nearly 20 years after, how was their career? And the thing, there is really this mental capacity who is super important for me. And it's not because at 12 years old, you're a little bit small. Grosjean was kicked out of some, we know that, kicked out of some, not at the French Federation at some moment. I don't know exactly the story.
Academy,
because
maybe.
Academy, he was too small or things like this. And then finally it's Grosjean. Or we had Arnaud Clément, who was pretty small, a bit skinny, or you have players like this. So that's why it's super important to keep doing the work, keep pushing, keep practicing, and keep believing, because it's a long process. If you do the good things at the right moment, it doesn't mean that at 12 years old, let's say you're a little bit behind in terms of level or international level, that's for sure it's over. And you should keep working, because suddenly you didn't see kids at 10, 11, 12 years old, and suddenly they grow, they start understanding, maybe they start taking the project in their hand, they start to be more responsible. We never know that 1 year later, suddenly it will switch. So that's why we should never put those kind of kids who are, let's say, outside the box, to put them on the side. It's important, even the kids who are outside of this classic box, not to want to put them, but to respect them, to try to understand them, respect sometimes their creativity, and maybe 1 or 2 years later, it's gonna be those kids who suddenly will come up. So it's important to try to, for me, to have the maximum and to try to optimize the maximum of each kid you can have. And sometimes the road is a bit different. And that's why even after, when you have adult, or for example now with Grigor, sometimes we are doing things we are not in the box. It's not the classic things, but it's important to provoke, to do different kind of things, different kind of exercise, or to think a bit outside the box, because we need to be a bit yeah, it's a special work, you know. It's sometimes
And
it's a bit crazy.
I won't ask you about Grigor, but when he won the Masters, you were there, right? This
Yes.
was 2000 and
Yeah.
what?
17.
17, yes. Was
Yes,
he
17.
in his a great shape? Like, what do you think about him that tournament?
Yeah. The very good things now, I think by the time we did, it was when he was losing US Open. There was Grigor, there was the physio, there was Danny, his tennis coach, and me, and we all discussed and we said, we know that it's gonna be soon in the Masters. So instead of rushing to go to practice, there was Shanghai and Beijing, we're gonna take some rest for him to finish a little bit more fresh at the end of the year. And the good point, I would say, we managed well after, and maybe it was not, for sure, not 100% because of that.
It was you. It was all you.
No, I hate to say that. We will talk later, but I hate to say that. No. But it was all a team decision to say, we're going to take time. And you arrive at the Masters where everybody is dropping a little bit, which is normal, end of the season, long, plenty of matches. And you arrive super fresh. Mentally and even physically, he was really ready to compete and to manage those kind of event, which is super big. So that's why it was a good, I would say overall, it was a very good management of the weeks before. He was really at his peak. When I go through the year, when I was younger coach, I didn't really realize that. But now with the age, the experience, and when I see the kids or the adult, I don't know if I would pick this quality as a number one, but very close. This capacity to go every day, go warm up. We know that stretching, doing the cool down, we know it's boring. Who likes at the end of the day, go stretch, blah, blah, blah. Not a lot, like you like 1 day, 2 days, 3 days, but all year and the year after and the year after, and you repeat. But it's really this mental process all the time.
I always thought about this because you spend so much time alone or so much time with your team. So one, you have to love yourself most of the time that you spend time with yourself. So you really have to see this process and say, I'm going to go through it. And it's a life lesson, right? I mean, I have to go through it. I have to love myself. I have to evolve because you're going to spend a lot of time with yourself, especially on court. And then with your team, right? Like if you don't like your fitness coach, for example, who's there telling you warm up and this and stretch, it's quite boring. So I wanted to ask you about I know you've been in it for a long time now. When did you realize, or when did you start? I know you play tennis now that you told me for a long time, but when did you start realizing where was your best niche that you coached, or what do you think you're better
at? I would say the first thing is to listen. I think this is really an important capacity to listen because I teach.
Different than a tennis coach, huh?
Yeah, the thing is, which is super important, is to listen first and to look and to see, not to go, okay, I want to do this. Okay, I go for it. Okay, they need to increase the speed. Okay, I go full speed. They need to, I don't know, be more powerful. Okay, let's go in the gym push. No. First, ask yourself the question, are they ready for that? This is my goal, but what I will do, what is the process? As I said, it would be easy if I say, okay, I want him to be powerful and I have like the magic list. Okay, I do this. But we are on the human machine.
How do you cross the bridge? Yeah.
We are on the human, and all the human are different. And even from one day to the other, the human is different. So you can arrive with amazing things, but if you don't listen, if you don't take the good info at the right moment, you don't go in the right way. And sometimes you can go on the wrong way. So this is super important to listen. And this is for me super important to have the goal and not to quit from this goal. I want my player to be more powerful. okay, how many times I have? It's a boy, it's a girl, what is his experience? What I have equipment, I don't have equipment, what, so many parameters that first you need to look at. And when you have studied already all the parameters and everything, then you're in the action and you try to find solution, and then you go through. But first, it's really this kind of step back to say, okay, I make the analysis of the situation and then I go. Second thing is, if I can say my quality, I think it's really, I want to share, and I love the human. I'm saying about that it's super important to love what you do, because it's not a work for me. It's just a passion. I don't say to my family, I go to work. I don't go to work. I just go to coach. I just go to train. I just go to share. I don't go to
you're
work.
You're talking about how boring and how they do with the consistency, Serena and Grigor and all these players, and you're doing it. This is what you do. You found your passion and you do it every day.
Yeah,
there you go.
but that's why, because I do what I feel, and that's why it's good that I didn't become a tennis player, for me, and I think even for the tennis. but no, overall, this is really the passion of wanting to help the people to try to optimize everything, because I bring the same I would say dedication. When I was at the academy, sometimes I could have Serena. The hour after, I could have Grigor. The hour after, I could have one kid of 9 years old. The hour after, I could have a group. So it was completely switching. It was amazing exercise. It was really amazing, because you had to adjust all the time. And overall, you put the same energy, you put the same focus, because you just want the person to be better every day. And you want to help them. That's it.
That's why you're great. And I heard so many good things about you from my brother, and I congratulate you. So now that you're talking about the academy, tell me a little bit about that. When did you start? When did you finish? Or you're not there anymore?
No. Well, we are in a very good relationship for sure with Patrick, and I started the academy.
And
when
sorry,
I was
for
25.
everybody, Sebas was at the Mouratoglou Academy for 10 years. This is the one in France, right?
The one in France, but he was on the west suburb of Paris at this moment. And then he called me. I was a young coach, and I was plenty of motivation. I was 25, full of energy. I was ready. And then he called me and he said, "Do you want to go? Do you want to be coach in my academy?" Or things like this. And I said, "Yeah, for sure. Let's go." He gave me the opportunity, and maybe we'll talk later, but I think in this, I don't know, in the other sports or anything, but it's really a moment of opportunity. I had this opportunity, and I tried to give the best that I could do when I was kid. So first I started being a bit tennis coach, and then I did the fitness coach. I did both in the same time. And then progressively, I was more into the fitness. And then after, I became a head fitness coach. And then I continue like this for 10 years. The academy grew. We were 2 fitness coaches, 3, 4, 5, 6. And then in the beginning, there was only 1 physio, after 2 physio. And then we grew like this. And it was amazing, 10 years.
To your years with the academy, and how you were telling me, you went from Grigor, you could go from Serena to 9 years old kid, and then a group, and then tell me how you saw, did you meet parents? Were there parents around? Like, did you ever see a relationship between kids and parents?
Yes. Yeah. And it was super interesting, because most of the time when you're in club in France, you have some parents, but you don't have so many parents who are this big project, who are involved into it. And it was in the beginning a bit surprising for me to see the parents coming like on the court or in the gym, and to look at me like this, everything what I was doing. They was like, wow, okay. And they were really into the project, who was super nice. And I think the parents are the key. One of the key, for sure. There is the coach. There is, I believe, a lot in the environment. And the parents are really, really important, because first, this is the parents, and second, because these are the person who are when your kid who are in contact with you all the time. So when they are into it, then you know that they will push the kids, but in a good way, to be healthy. Because you can say to the kids, you know, you need to drink often, hydration is important and everything. But if at home you don't have this kind of relay of what you're saying, then after it's like you put fuel in an empty tank, but nothing happened, you know. But for example, if you say, okay, this weekend go with your parents, but with your parents in the weekend, you're gonna go for ride a bike, or you're gonna go for a walk in the forest, or jog a little bit, and not staying all the time, you know, in the couch in front of the TV watching movies. It's a completely different mindset in the family, in the house, in the apartment, you know. And those kind of kids, you can see it's completely different. And many of the top players, they had this kind of environment where the family was more or less involved, but at least there was a good atmosphere. It was not stressful. There was a good motivation, a sport mentality, pretty, I would say, healthy life. I don't know everything for sure, but I would say healthy life. We try to eat good. We try to go sleep on time. There is the school, you know, like a balance in the life, a good stability, not something completely a mess. And sorry, I just finished with one thing.
Yeah.
Is that one thing who is important is the parents. For example, they need, especially when they're kids, they need to be involved. Because, for example, who will drive the kids at 2 or 3 hours car? Who after will take the train or the plane to go and to bring the kids in tournament? Who will bring the money, financial stuff? This is the parents. This is the parents. It's not the coach. So they need to be into it a little bit. That's super important.
But the most successful kids and even pros that I've talked to, and I mean, I'm friendly with, they've always, like you said, had this environment, right? Of everybody was involved. Like it was a group living style. It was everybody living kind of like this certain life, right? The great life, the healthy habits, the healthy sleeping habits, like all of it. But what I've noticed is that the parents that think they know it already, they know how to do it already, the parents need to be, you know, we're all living the same way. So now I'm learning as a player, you have to learn as a parent. We're all going through this process together. And like you said at the beginning of the conversation, it's a long way to go. And what happens in between all of that, there's many changes. So I believe parents need to understand that there is a process for them too, right?
Yeah, for sure. If again, we are not on the machine. You don't have the manual of the perfect pro. If not, it would be too easy. When you give program, for example, fitness coach, you give program. Let's say now, for example, we're in the lockdown and everything. You give program to the kids. If the parents are not the relay and are not the link to say, hey, look, you have to do something today. Let's go for it. And then, okay. And then they go for it. But if you look the paper, they say, you don't do it. It's okay. You will do tomorrow or later. We don't care. It's completely different for the kids. Completely different point of view. Yeah.
So would you say that lack of education or great education about fitness growing up could be a factor for success or not?
Yeah. I think so. Good. I mean, it's a huge help. For sure, we can always find an example of parents who are completely of the opposite of what we think, and we have still the kid who find a way by himself. But I would say if we want to give the best chance for the kids to have, let's say, overall an healthy life, is what as an education, what you're gonna create as an environment. If the morning you wake up, you go, okay, let's go for a run. Let's have let's say, healthy breakfast. Let's go to different kind of things, activity and stuff like that. For sure, the kids will be into it. But all day, if the parents should be as an example of what the kids wants to be, what are their value. But it's a big help, definitely.
If there was, so I know that you've maybe talked about it throughout this whole conversation, but if there was, 1, 2, 3 advice that you would give a rising junior about fitness, what would you say if you can break it down in three?
In three, yeah. The most important thing is to think when you're junior, not to think short terms and to think long process. So it's super important to really have this capacity of working. And this, it's not only coming from one year to the other, it's something you need to build through the year. So your capacity and your habit to practice, that's super important, not only mentally, but even physically. If you have the habits every day to do 2, 3, 4 hours, then for sure, when you will increase the load, then after it's gonna, your body will get used to that. So it's gonna be a natural process through the years. That's the most important, one important thing. The second important thing is really to prepare your body for what will happen after. So we know the difference between junior and adult. It's really the capacity, the strength. It's the, I would say overall, it's all your quality. So it's for sure a matter of strength, how you're gonna build your body for adult. When you have guys who are serving 210, 220 for 3-4 hours, better be strong and able to, to control the ball and be strong in the ground and many things like this. The game goes faster. There is more consistency and everything. So you really need to build your body progressively
for the future. Yeah.
But you need to work on it. So basically you need to spend time in the gym or working or on the track or different kind of things, but you need to put hours. That's the only way you can build up your body for what you will need in the next years. Because after, it's always easier to maintain than to develop. So when you reach to a point, after for sure you will improve, but you will improve slower. And if you miss some moment in your age, after it's gonna take you more time to improve. Let's take the example, for example, coordination skill or things like this. If you don't improve that at the good moment where the brain is connected just after the growth, you can still have it, but it's gonna take more time. It's many things like this. The posture in the gym. If you know already when you're 10, 11, 12 years old, how to have good posture, how to strengthen your shoulder, how to do the rehab, how to do the core, you're gonna arrive 16, 17, 18. It's always time you saved from before that you don't have to focus on. If you arrive at 17, 18, you don't have routine, you don't do the warm-up, you don't do the cool-down, you don't know the elastic band, what is the posture, how you have to do your proprioception, whatever exercise, then you have to step by step go into this routine and things like you can do it.
You're wasting time.
But it's always things you could have done before that when you arrive 17, 18, it's already done, it's already made. So that's why it's important to do the right thing at the right moment. And this is super important. So this, I would say, the second. And the third thing is difficult to say, because when you have the mental
you
skill,
pretty much said a couple already.
I said plenty, huh? Yeah, but overall, it's really not to think that you arrive, even when you're junior, you can be number one in the world junior, but it's still all the top junior, when they arrive, they are number one junior, but they know it's just a step, but it's not the end of the road. And they realize when they arrive sometimes, then in adult, wow. And it's tough because, for example, I spoke when there was at the academy, there was Anastasia Pavlyuchenkova, who was number one. We had Laura Robson, Grigor, who was number one, Marcos Baghdatis, who was number one junior, all those players. And they always had this capacity to say, okay, I'm number one, but I want more. And we need to be careful because, for example, when you go on the tour in the junior and when you play the slam, you play the slam. You play Roland Garros, you go in Australia, you play Australia. So you think, even unconsciously,
you think you're
that
there.
you reach your goal because you play the slam, you play all the top tournaments. But you're not in adult, you're in junior. Watch out. So you need to step back in a way. And you need to go through future and challenger when the conditions are not the same, the stadium are not the same, the court are not the same. And you have to kind of reset.
It's a restart.
It's exactly, it's a new life. You can be number top 10 junior, and suddenly you're gonna arrive 400 ATP or WTA. You're gonna start in the qualification. Okay, so this is the real work. This is where the real life starts. You know, before it's just a building process. But for me, it's not the most important thing.
I mean, I find it interesting that people don't really talk about this and understand it in the process, because I mean, let's look at Nadal, let's look at Djokovic, let's look at Murray, let's look at all these guys. I mean, I'm naming the four just because it's the quick names, but they all have changed. They're at the top, but they all have made unbelievable changes. I mean, the humility of the process is huge. I think it's huge.
And you know, this is the permanent question we had, for example, with Serena. She was number one. She won everything we can imagine on earth. And all the time, even me, I was thinking,
all the girls that have done this.
How can she be better? How can she be better? Because it's like the chess. Even if you're number one, if you reach the top, you need to always think in advance to try to get better all the time, because you're angry. You want more. You want more. You want more. You like it, so you always want more. That's So, but it's super important not to say, okay, that's it, I did it. No, you do it, but then you're not arrived yet. Always wanting this and to like the competition. I'm always unbelievably surprised of, for example, Roger or Rafa. All those guys, they are like kids. It's crazy. They love the game. They love it, and they can continue for a long time because they love it. And that's funny.
It's the love for what you do, just what you found with fitness. I mean, it's just, you don't go to work, you go to have fun.
Yeah. It's more for me to help the player more mentally to be ready for the competition. And I am in the team. So if we feel, for example, him stress, which can happen for sure, then we will try to
always happens.
But more or less, let's say more or less. Then after, at that moment, we will try to find to take off the stress. If the energy, for example, is a bit missing, then we will try to put energy. If we need to calm down, if we need to, it's plenty of details that I want the players to be only focused on. What they have to do is practicing, feeling good, and competing. So if I can help sometimes in different way, I will do because I think it's good. Yeah, for example, and for me, it's not a shame if I have to go buy something because for the breakfast something is missing, or if I have to help in other way. I mean, I will do it because I think I have time. I am here. If I can help, I will help. I just don't want to stay only. No. I'm the fitness coach. I have my elastic, and I stay on my fitness role. You know, no. My goal is, I want the player to win
the best for the player,
the result, and to have to try to optimize and to say at the end of the tournament, win or lose or whatever, if I had to do it again, would I do different? Sometimes yes, sometimes no, but I want to try the maximum to have the answer. No, I tried the best I could to help him. Maybe sometimes I do mistake. Maybe I should have be more like this or done more like this. Okay, and in a way, always that surprise when I said, in a way, I prefer a player physically not that good, but who win matches, than players who are physically amazing, running everywhere, strong and everything, but who doesn't win. In the end, I want them to win. I'm part of the team, and I'm here to help the player.
That's no different than a coach. You can practice amazing, but if you can't play a match, what are we doing?
So I mean, it's the same for me. I am part of the team, and I want to help through the fitness, which is my goal. But if at the end the player doesn't win, I'm not happy. I cannot satisfy of saying, okay, he's not injured, he runs fast, he has good cardio, he's strong, but he doesn't win match. I don't want that. I cannot say, okay, it's not my fault.
I've done my job.
Yeah, I've done my job. No. If he doesn't win matches, I have my responsibility for a part.
So now that we're talking about this, if I would ask you to think about in the big picture of tennis as a sport, what do you bring to tennis as a sport? You.
Big picture. Huh? For the sport, I try to bring my experience, because I had really the opportunity and the chance for 10 years and even from now to discover, not the world because it will sound a bit too much, but to discover plenty of mindset, plenty of habits, plenty of parents, plenty of players, old, tall, big, whatever, good, not good, everything. And I really try all the time to take the best from what I've seen, and I try to give it back. And I try to give it back, or to the player that I coach, or to give it back to other young coaches. My goal is to try to boost and to try to make them save time. Like some
save
for
time
example,
is big. That's a big thing.
Yeah, because instead of learning in 10 years something, if you can takes you 2 or 3 years, then I help you to save time. So that's why I try to share the maximum I can from my experience, from my knowledge and everything, to the other people. And I try to be all the time, especially now, I try all the time to be like creative, and all the time I try to bring new things. I test and I see, and that's why I don't want to stay only locked into tennis. But for example, I try to watch video of ski. I love to watch video of, for example, it can be basketball or badminton or soccer. Or okay, in soccer, they do the rehab of the hammies like this, because we know hammies in soccer is important, for example. Okay, that can be interesting because, okay, it's not the same sport, but still they change direction, they sprint, and the hammies are super important for soccer players. So, okay, I like this exercise. This one, not so much. And for example, ski, it looks super far from tennis, but ski, you have to stay low and you change direction. Why not take some example of this? So it's plenty of things.
Did you ever think you were going to be this successful? Do you think you're successful?
I would say I did things, and I tried to do my best. It was a dream to be where I am, and I tried to give the best I could do for that. And after, where I think I was successful in taking, we said, or getting the opportunity I had. I had some opportunities. Yeah. I had those opportunities, those opportunity, and I take them. For example, I start with Grigor. He was 17 years old. If in the beginning, I was not
so young. Wow.
Yeah, he was 17. Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. So yeah, long story. But when he was 17, I had this opportunity to coach this amazing kid by the time. And if I was not good with him, if he didn't feel I could help him and I didn't bring him things, then, which is completely normal. At some point, we can talk with passion and everything, but we need to be professional. When my practice starts at one time, I am on time. I prepare the equipment, which is normal. This is professional.
I mean, yeah.
Yeah, you're on time, you prepare the thing, you know your job, and you know what you have to do. And it's important to be serious and be constant for that. So if I had this opportunity, if he didn't feel that I could help him, then he would say, okay, it's a nice guy, maybe I can have some barbecue with him, but I don't feel this guy will help me in terms of professional. Mm-hmm. And even now with Grigor, we have, I think, this relation where we are very close by the time, but in the same times, we are together really professional because we want to achieve this goal to be better. And we know that we have to be professional. This is super important for me, for him, for everybody. And if I am too, not friendly, but if I am not pro enough, at some point, he will tell me, which is normal. He will tell me, listen, Seb, we had great moment, but things, and I would say, okay, I understand it. I don't bring in the step up, and you need to step up all the time. It doesn't. That's why it's two different things for me. So, yeah, I dream of it. I'm super happy where I am.
You dreamed of it, and now you're here. So there you go.
Yeah, but it's a lot of work, a lot of mental things, and it doesn't come like this. It's
Yeah, you tell us you don't even watch Netflix, so there you go.
No, better things to do.
Tell me, so let's get a little bit into, tell me two, we always ask this in interviews, tell me two mottos, so two quotes, two things that you go to in your head when you're dealing with adversity or when you've had hard times in your life. What are two things that you could say you could share with us that help you?
The first, I don't have really quotes, exact quotes. I cannot say I have some. I know there are sometimes plenty of good quotes, but I would say I remind myself all the time when it's a bit hard or things doesn't go in the way I want the things to go. I always remind to myself, where are my goals? Always. My goal is where I want to be. So sometimes it's not a fine line where you go from A to B. So it's always going a bit right and left all the time. But all the time, I remind myself the goals. What are my goals? Where I want to go? Who I want to be? Who and stuff like that. So all the time. And
nice.
The second thing is I try all the time to create an environment around myself. And because I trust a lot in the environment, and I try all the time to be surrounded by people who brings me up, who help me. So sometimes I need to talk to some person, but I know that this person will help me. If all the time, I trust a lot. If all the time you listen sad music, you watch sad movie, you're in a bad mood, that can happen sometimes. You talk to people who are completely desperate, and all the time it's super tough to be positive and bring energy and everything. So that's why I try all the time to push myself, for me, for the other, but I try to have this feedback again.
This is a great advice, even for coaches and parents and players, and in that moment of development, those years that we were talking about, how important it is that everybody understands that advice, right? Like, imagine if everybody got that in the development ages. I mean, like you said, though, everybody will be able to do it, eh?
Yeah, for sure. But it's like the circle, the vicious circle, but in a good way. It's not the circle who brings you down, it's the circle who brings you up. And sometimes you're gonna be happy to give positive energy to someone, but you're gonna be sometimes so happy that someone comes and take you, hey, let's go for, I don't know, let's go grab a sandwich, let's go for a run, let's go to do this, or I have this goal, come and sign into this race, or let's go here, or let's talk, whatever kind of things. You say, okay, that's nice, and then up, it bring you up again, up, and it's good to share those moments, so, and everybody can win with that. So I think
this happens so much in tennis. It happens so much because you spend so much time with your team, and again, it's just, sure. That's why, like I said at the beginning of the conversation when we were talking about Serena warming up, you have to love yourself, and if you don't one day, you better make sure that you love your team, because those are the people that are going to bring you up.
Yeah, for sure. I like to, when you watch the player, I love to watch who are the person around, or who are the parents, because you see a little bit more who's going to be the person. And when you're going to spend so many time with the players, or with the kid, or whatever, all the time, it's super important to have this environment. This is super, super important.
I thank you so much for talking to me, and hopefully if we get a little bit bigger, I can pay you for these talks later on, but not for now.
No. It's as I told you, as soon as you press the button, and I have still 50% of battery on my computer, so we can, till there is, I'm outside now, but till there is light, we can, as soon as you press the button, I'm non-stop.
Where are you now?
I am not, I am at home, but I went outside a little bit to take a bit the sun and to...
Show me.
Here there is some building, and I look, the nature.
That's where you're working out nowadays, right?
Yeah, but we try to spend a bit of time outside the most we can. Yeah, with those moments, we try to spend time outside. But yeah, for me, it's always a pleasure to talk about and share. And it's part of me.
I love it. Let's finish it with one thing. Which advice would you give Sebastien when he was 15 years old?
In one, I would say trust, and it's kind of trust, belief, and work. Okay. Yeah? Okay.
Well,
okay, let's go for that.
I wish I can travel to France sometime soon. I wish I can see you in a tournament soon. Hopefully we meet whenever you come to Miami again. We can talk. And,
Sure.
But
Pleasure.
I love this, and thank you so much. And for now, let's just maybe do a little bit, a digital bump, and I'll see you soon. But thank you so much for this.
Okay, bye-bye.
Bye-bye, have a good one. Ciao.